I've been talking about minimalism for many years now, and this video was actually originally planned as a 24 things to declutter before 2024 video. But I realized that I really do want to talk about why decluttering is not gonna make you a minimalist and why decluttering might not be the best thing to do in your situation, and what I think you should do instead of decluttering, or at least with decluttering. So why am I saying that decluttering is not gonna make you a minimalist when obviously most people wanting to be minimalists have a lot of stuff and they want to have less, and the only real way to get to that is by decluttering. So I'm not saying you shouldn't declutter, but I do want to talk about the thing that's more important than just decluttering to actually become a minimalist, or in general, be more happy with the amount of stuff you own and live a more fulfilled life. The thing is, I do not believe that the thing that's keeping you from happiness is your stuff. And I also do not believe that just getting rid of stuff is that simple. So what I think is actually important is not the number of things you own, the technique you use to declutter, or the amount of stuff you have after decluttering. The thing that's important is your relationship with yourself and your stuff. Here I have to be really honest and say that I do not think that there's just a simple hack to become a happy minimalist. I don't think there's the one decluttering technique that will make it easy to get rid of all your stuff that you don't need anymore. And there's definitely not this like quick fix and first you were like overwhelmed with your stuff and then you live a happy and fulfilled life, never overspending or over-consuming again. And here we come to the first problem with decluttering. Decluttering doesn't actually ensure that you will have a more minimalist life, that you will own less, that you will not be overwhelmed with your stuff anymore, because many people do declutter, sometimes a lot of things, but they also just end up buying the same amount again. Because if we're just decluttering and not focusing on what's coming into our lives, that might just lead nowhere. The thing is that decluttering is still relatively easy and it's physical items. So we can see what we declutter. We can physically put an item into a bin and then it's gone and then we got rid of it. In theory, it works the same with bringing things into our lives, but I think it's trickier because of all the advertisement, because we're used to consume. And so I do think it does take some effort to learn how to consume more intentionally. But let me just make like a point for not over-consuming. Most of the times we want an item not because that item itself would make our life better, but because we were advertised that it would make us happy, that we suddenly think we need it. Simply put, we cannot really trust our feelings when we just want stuff, because wanting stuff is not going to guarantee us any happiness. And if we're just giving into that urge to buy everything, then we spend a lot of money. We have to spend time to find a new place for the item. And inevitably, in the end, we also kind of have to declutter that item again, if it breaks or if we decide that we do not longer want to keep it. And so it definitely does not offer us a more calm and balanced life. And it definitely also does not lead us into the direction of minimalism. And I think here we can really see that that is really a practice and a habit. And a habit, unfortunately, is so much harder to change or declutter if we have a habit of over-consuming than to declutter a certain item, because we can't put the habit in the bin and then it's gone. It will creep up on us again and it is a lot of work. I've been practicing spending mindfully and consuming just what I think will actually add value, and kind of learning where I can trust myself in that. And if you want to know more about that, I do have a whole playlist of in and out videos where I document every single month what has come into my life and what I have decluttered. And I think that really gives you a good glimpse into my purchasing decisions, into my decluttering decisions, and kind of just how that can look in a minimalist life. And I think there's one more very important thing that we need to talk about when it comes to finding a solution to kind of get out of this decluttering rat race. Because if we're just buying and decluttering and really do not find a solution and not getting to the point of actually living a minimalist life. Or maybe it does work for you a little bit, but you could speed it up if we could just address the actual problem. Why do we gravitate towards certain things? How do we feel about the things that we own? How do we feel when we declutter them? Do we feel guilty? Do we feel great when we buy something? Do we feel guilty for spending the money? Do we actually use the things we own? Do we have problems decluttering things even though we haven't used them? Does it play a role how much money that item cost? Or where do we struggle with our stuff, but also where do we have a lot of fun and where do we like owning the stuff that we have? And even though I've been on my minimalism journey for 8 years now, there's still things I'm learning. And this year, one of the biggest lessons kind of was that it is such a great feeling to just appreciate the things I own, and that this appreciation and gratitude for things can actually melt away most of the desire to buy new things, most of the desires to declutter more and become more minimalist, most of the desires actually to just change and alter my stuff and asking my stuff for happiness in any way. And let's be honest here, I do think as humans we all kind of identify with the things we own, and I do not think that there is necessarily something wrong with that. But I think by knowing that stuff is a part of our lives, and it will always be, because no matter how much we're an extreme minimalist, there are still some things we need to use on a daily basis. I think we need stuff, but I hope that we can find a solution to have a good relationship with our stuff and not a complicated one, not one that sucks the money out of our pockets or just makes us miserable and makes us either drown in our stuff or declutter a truckload every year, but not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel there. And I think there's no real shortcut, but I think what does make sense is to actually reflect on the things we own, the things we buy, and the things we declutter. So when we talk about minimalism, I think oftentimes we just focus on, we need to get rid of this stuff, so let's declutter it and not think about it anymore. But I think it is really important to get behind the why of why did I want to declutter that? Why did I buy this? Why did I think this will make me happy and then 2 months later I actually want to declutter it again? Why do I feel guilty for buying, for decluttering? Why do I want to own this? And why am I even thinking about stuff that much? Because let's be honest, I think the goal with minimalism is to kind of get away from thinking about stuff all the time, is getting away from defining ourselves too much through what we buy, what we own, what we declutter. Because I do think that the goal with minimalism in the end is not to own the least amount of items or to declutter the most, but to be able to focus on other things than stuff again. It should make it a bit easier to live according to our values. And now this video did not really give you any definite answers, I know, but I think that's the reality. And I think that most of the time the quick tips and the tricks, they can help short term, but we need to address the actual thing and learn about ourselves, about what we need, about what our insecurities are, and about why we consume and declutter the way we do, why we even want to live a minimalist life. I do have a whole playlist about decluttering and what to declutter and how to declutter, and it does very much so include non-material things as well, because I think they are sometimes even more important than just decluttering our, paperwork. And with that, I do hope that I could add a bit of a different perspective and not just another list of 50 things you should declutter before 2024. I do hope you will find some time to reflect on your things and on your life in general, and hopefully this video together with other videos about decluttering and maybe also a listicle of 50 things you can declutter before 2024 will help you and lead you towards a more fulfilled life with less thoughts about stuff. Thank you so much for being here, and I do want to link you another video that you can check out right now. And I also want to say thank you so much to everyone who's supporting me on Patreon, to everyone who is supporting me here with super thanks, and also to you for watching this video until now. I do hope to see you here or in my next video. Goodbye.